Welcome back, Wolfpack. Welcome back to another episode of Market Watch Mondays. As always, I am your host at Mike Me Up with 2Ps on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me wherever. I'm mostly on Twitter, though. So if you guys want to DM me, talk football, follow me on there. Holler at your boy. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm recording this episode on Sunday, so the games are actually still going on. So I'm not going to be able to capture all that information. Not that it matters, because that's not what I'm talking about anyways. I'm talking mostly strategy right now in terms of what I want to go over. So it's not of huge importance. But I just got back from Tahoe. My girlfriend and I and some of her friends went up there this weekend, hit the powder, hit the slopes for the first time of the year. Felt good, felt great. The snow conditions weren't great, but it was manageable. So we had a good time. Chilled in the cottage, hung out, played some games, cooked some delicious food. So it was awesome, all good stuff. Now I'm back in the studio, grinding, working for the homies. So shout out to all you guys out there. If you guys are still playing fantasy football, if you guys have championship week in week 18, first of all, get yourself checked out psychiatrically, because you are not in the right state of mind if that's happening. But if you are, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you guys get luckier than the opponents and your starters actually stay in for a long time. So that's that. I want to get into the episode, but man, as you guys know, before we get into the episode, we got to talk about something, man. And that's the intro. Hit that intro. All right, welcome back. So I want to talk about a few things this episode. I want to talk about a couple players, but mostly I want to talk about strategy. Right? What are the things that you should be thinking about right now? What are the things you should be combing through in your leagues and stuff of that nature? But first off, man, let's give a shout out to Jaylen Waddle, certified baller. He now has, I believe, he just broke the rookie receiving record set by legend, one of the most underrated receivers ever, probably, Anquan Boldin. I think Anquan Boldin had about 101 receptions. Jaylen Waddle has broken that record. He had 99 going into this game, and I believe he has 4 last I checked. So let me just confirm that for y'all real quick. But yeah, so that would put him at 103, which obviously is higher than 101. So big shout out to Jaylen Waddle. Big shout out to any of y'all out there that were high on Jaylen Waddle. Shout out to all the people that, all the analytics people that were able to get across the hump and actually found the diamond in the rough. Your boy included. I think I had Jaylen Waddle. I think some people were crazy. I had him as a wide receiver 1. I was not that crazy because I was still a Jamar Chase generational talent through and through. And then I had my dude, Rashad Bateman, as well, of course. But Jaylen Waddle has absolutely exceeded Rashad Bateman so far, just based on what he's been able to do. Just an absolute target monster. And I think, the one knock against Jaylen Waddle is his usage, right? His ADOT is not very good. His ADOT has been pretty anemic, I would say, like just very, very boring. And that's part of that is Tua as well. Tua really needs to step up his game in terms of pushing the ball more downfield. But here's where I take comfort in a Jaylen Waddle, right? I think people are drawing comparisons between him and a Jarvis Landry, who was also a target monster, but very, very low ADOT early on in his career. So he was great for PPR leagues, but even by PPR leagues, he's like good, not great. I think there's some concern about Jaylen Waddle capping out of that. But here's the thing. Like, Jaylen Waddle is doing this as a rookie, right? As a rookie. But also, Jaylen Waddle was one of the fastest players in the draft, right? He didn't actually run because he was hurt, but he's a 4.3, potentially 4.2 type runner. I remember when the videos first launched with Henry Ruggs, they were running toe for toe, stride for stride. So I am not concerned with Jaylen Waddle's deep game. I think that's, I always thought that he would be a bit of a development project coming into the league because he wasn't as refined as a Jamar Chase or even as a Devonta Smith, but he always had that X factor, and that X factor is his speed. And there is very few players in the NFL that can make receivers fear for the deep ball as much as someone like a Jaylen Waddle, like a Will Fuller. And that's why I loved him going to Miami. Unfortunately, Will Fuller's been out for the whole year, so they didn't really get much mentorship there. But I would have really loved to see them kind of develop some chemistry and have Will Fuller take him under his wing. But I think it's encouraging that he's already getting the underneath work, right? He's getting the intermediate work. We know he's also a very, very good yards after the catch guy from college. So I think as his game develops, I see his ceiling as much higher than Jarvis Landry. So, a lot of people said, like, well, if he is a Jarvis Landry, he still pays off as ADP. Well, I don't think so, because we're paying a top 10 dynasty wide receiver price for him. So if you're paying that price for a dynasty wide receiver, they need to have wide receiver 1 overall in their range of possible outcomes, right? And a Jarvis Landry will never have that. So, but I do think a Jaylen Waddle does. So I'm not concerned about Jaylen Waddle's ADOT right now, because we know that is an asset and one of his trump cards coming out of college. So that's the difference, right, between him and Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry was a slowpoke, always was a slowpoke, but he's a good player. He's a good player. But Jaylen Waddle can beat the barn. He can beat any defensive back deep. So as he develops his game and gets a little bit more intricate with the way he runs his routes, the way he sets defenders up, I truly do believe the deep balls are coming. So let's just take a moment to appreciate him for what he is right now, the rookie receptions holder. It's crazy. Like, we just got blessed with the great 2020 class with Justin Jefferson, right, with CeeDee Lamb, and then before that we got blessed with DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, right, and now we're getting blessed again. Jamar Chase just broke the record of Justin Jefferson set last year, which is incredible. I didn't think he would do that, and I love Jamar Chase, but I did not think he would do that. Obviously had a little bit of help with that monster end game where the Chiefs decided to just put one man on him and not really cover him all. Obviously a bold strategy that did not work out for the Kansas City Chiefs. But anyways, him and Justin Jefferson are now in their own tier for me. They're both just stud young guys, back-to-back in the rookie receiving records category. So they're back-to-back for me in my dynasty ranks. But Jaylen Waddle broke another record. He broke the rookie receptions record, not the receiving yards record. Obviously, I went he broke Anquan Bolden's record, but Anquan Bolden's rookie production was way, way more impressive because he had way more yardage on those receptions than a Jaylen Waddle did. But let's not take away from anything Jaylen Waddle has done. He's obviously cemented himself as the wide receiver 2 of this class. How far should they be apart? I still think there's a very, very sizable gap between him and a Jamar Chase, just because I think Jamar Chase is already that do-it-all wide receiver, probably arguably already in the top 5 in the NFL, which is saying something as a rookie, right? So I personally have Jaylen Waddle around the back part of the second round for me, and he is currently a wide receiver in that call it that wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 10 bucket. I have a bunch of guys in that bucket. I have Devontae Adams there. I have Cooper Kupp there, and it just really depends on what you're looking for in your team. But I think Jaylen Waddle has far cemented himself as a top 10 rookie wide receiver. The production he has shown so far has been insane, and rookie production is extremely sticky. Also, from a PFF grading perspective, it goes Jamar Chase and Jaylen Waddle. They're both up there in terms of top graded rookie wide receivers, which you love to see. So all arrows pointing up for Jaylen Waddle. Let's just hope that Tua can take that next step. Let's hope Miami can build around them. I remember everyone was laughing about Jaylen Waddle mocking Miami. Personally, look, did they pay a really, really steep price? Yes, but you cannot assess Tua without giving him the weapons, and they felt that Jaylen Waddle was that dude, and they wanted to trade up to get him because he would not have fallen any further, and they traded to get their guy. And look, was it expensive? Yeah, but I kind of I didn't really hate on it as much because I just thought it made sense. You kind of have to invest around your quarterback. So let's see them keep investing, building that O-line, maybe get a couple more weapons and see what Tua can do. But so far, man, Jaylen Waddle has been a star of the show. So shout out to anyone out there that was on Jaylen Waddle, whether you're a film guy, whether you're an analyst guy. A lot of analyst guys were not on him. For those of us that were, high five. I'm giving you guys an air high five so we can celebrate together. But I think it's a really, really impressive season. Just another really, really impressive class. And this wide receiver talent in the NFL is just going to get more and more just getting higher and higher and higher and elevate and elevate and elevate. And you kind of see the scoring and from a fantasy perspective over the years has really shown it, right? Because there really isn't that much of a gap separating wide receiver, low end wide receiver 1 to high end low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. It's a couple of points, right? So you can see the points are getting spread a lot more because there's more than one true off on the field. That JJ Zacharyson did a great article, great podcast on this, whether last year or the year before, and he was basically saying how we know the workhorse running back is dying, the target hog wide receiver is also dying. There's just so much talent. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, probably one of the best wide receiver duos already in the league, right? You got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in the same team, right? You got so many of these pairings that are going to keep elevating, right? And it's just going to be it's exciting to watch, but it does mean that wide receiver scoring is going to be a little bit more spread out. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, for example, right? So there's just more and more of that, and it's going to be intriguing because the next class, The strongest part of the 2022 class is not quarterbacks, it's not running backs. Like I said last week, it's wide receiver. We got Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, like a lot of these really talented guys coming into the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how it continues to develop down the line. But for now, man, Jaylen Waddle, stamp of approval. You got my respect. I'm glad I was on board with you. I'm glad I deviated from my analytics path a little bit and really just hammered it home with Jaylen Waddle. This might make me a full-time film grinder. I don't know. I don't make the rules, but it might. So those of you guys out there, be on the lookout. Fucking Pro Scout, Film Grinder coming at you to a theater near you real damn soon. All right? So the next thing I want to talk about, though, is more so around like how to weight games, right? So here's the thing, right? I do it. Everyone does it. We are emotionally attached to players who blow up during the fantasy football playoffs, right? So the Jamar Chase, literally league winning. If you had Jamar Chase in your championships week, you probably won your league. Now, the problem is he put up a dud the first round of playoffs, so if you didn't have a bye, you're in trouble. But if you made it to the finals with Jamar Chase, more often than not, he won the league for you, right? So, that's one where it's like it won't damage you as much because no matter what, Jamar Chase was like already wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 for most people, right? So it's not like you're going to get too much more hype. But what I do think is relative value of Jamar Chase to other players, other positions, it's going to widen the gap a lot more. And for me, I do not weight a championship performance more than I would weight any other week. Because for a player, if you think about it from an NFL player perspective, it's not like it's their playoffs, right? These are just games. Maybe they are big games in the sense that they like if they're win or lose, and that's different. I get it, but for the most part, it's just any other week, especially for players on any good teams, right? That have made the playoffs or secured buys, like especially week 18, right? Like if you look at what Dak did yesterday, he put up like 4 tutties in like the first half, right? And that's gonna skew people. That's gonna skew his numbers, right? That's gonna skew his year-end performance, which is also why, for the most part, I don't even look at week 18, right? So I'm still going to be looking at like the previous 16 weeks. So because the 18th week really doesn't matter, right? Like Dak was basically playing against second stringers. So you'd kind of expect him to have a big game, but that's going to skew people, right? And what I want to tell you guys and make sure you guys are aware of this cognitive bias is do not overweight the playoffs, right? Yes, the player's performance means a lot more in terms of their ability to help you win, but from their perspective, they're just playing another game, right? They're playing another game to play. Now, I do like to pay more attention in playoffs, and playoff stats don't show up anywhere in fantasy because it's hard to account for, right? You just don't. People like, how do you account for that? Like it's more games, and for me, I always look at stuff on a per game basis, so it's easier to look at it. So like, what would their points per game been if you included the playoff games? What would their yards per game? What would there be TDs per game? What are their average per game metrics? How does that change in the playoffs? And here's why, right? Here's why I like to account for that. Because if you think about it, if a player goes off in the playoffs, that matters for coaching staff. Maybe that earns them that next rep next year coming into the year. Maybe that earns them a spot on the roster. Maybe that does something for them. Maybe that does elevate something for them. If a player does something like week 18, like I don't care. Like I don't know if coaches care. And they're not the NFL and the teams and the coaches definitely aren't weighting those games more. So why should we, right? So I just want you to be careful. And there are really good players that take a dump in playoffs, right? And a lot of players that I was relying on took a dump in the playoffs, like an Alvin Kamara, right? Took a dump in the playoffs. And you have a lot of really star players that just don't do much for you in the playoffs, and people get down on them, right? People get down on them. They forget about them until next year. Go out and try and acquire those types of guys for cheap, right? The guys who are really, really good and they're good players, but just didn't, for whatever reason, randomness, didn't have a good week, whatever you have it, especially the wide receiver position where it's highly variable, or even tight end where it's highly variable, right? They did not have a good week in championship week, and maybe they were the reason why people lost the championships, right? Maybe they're the reason why someone got eliminated from playoffs. Go look for those players in your leagues. Go check your league rosters. Players that did underperform and cost someone the championships. See if you can capitalize on their emotional trading and try and get that player for cheap, right? On the flip side, right, if a player blew up in the fantasy playoffs, right, and they really aren't a factor or not someone you're looking for, long term, try and trade those guys and trade that emotional value, right? Like try and get that emotional value. If someone, let's say you used a pickup off the waiver wire, or just like a player that just happened to have all the stars aligned, during the playoffs. Like I think one player that really capitalizes this is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's really, really tough to rank for me, right? I think he's good enough to actually warrant like a second-round pick. A lot of people were saying trying to sell him for a second-round pick, and it could be true, right? Maybe he just happened to put together that 5-game stretch that was just unforeseen, like a Tyler Higbee, right? A great example of that was Tyler Higbee. He put together like a 5-game stretch that was absolutely incredible, that was league-winning, that pushed people in the playoffs, right? And then the next year, people were willing to pay off for Tyler Higbee, even though his profile and everything else suggested that he likely wasn't going to be that dude. And obviously, it turned out that he was not that dude. So I think what I like to do, and something I'll probably scrape together the next couple of weeks, is look at all the top performing players during the fantasy football playoffs. And that's where I'm going to find some buy lows, or no, some sell highs, the players that really, really shot up that really aren't in my radar long term, and then some buy lows, the players that really, really tanked during week 17, 16, 15. I think this is going to be a really good exercise. I'm going to do it too, and if you guys want to do it, feel free to do it as well. I'll probably make that the topic of the next episode, but maybe like sell highs and buy lows based on fantasy performance. But I think that's really a trend that you can capitalize on every single year, because everyone is susceptible to it. Everyone remembers, man. Everyone remembers the guy that lost him the league. Everyone remembers, man, if Jonathan Taylor scored a touchdown for me in the first round of playoffs, a lot of my good teams would advance, right? If Travis Kelce didn't put up, if Tyreek Hill, this is a great example. If Tyreek Hill didn't go out there in the second week and put up, or in the first week of the playoffs, and put up like one reception for 2 yards, I might still be in the playoffs in a lot of my leagues. And maybe some people are going to get attached to that, right? Maybe some people are going to see that. Maybe some people are going to see like a down week from T. Higgins during the playoffs. Be like, yeah, this guy is not really that dude anymore, even though he had a monster play leading up to it. So I think those are the types of things I'm going to be looking for, and I'll dig in a little bit more into the scoring and all that stuff during those weeks to make sure I have the numbers right, and I'll come back together with another episode. But I just want to get that thought process out there. Like, don't be an emotional trader. I always say that, right? Try not to succumb to your emotions, right? If your emotions is telling you to do one thing, but your brain is telling you to do something else, usually you want to go with your brain, right? You want to go with your brain, and not emotionally trade. And this isn't just fantasy. This is just in real life, NFTs, investing, whatever. Just you don't want to be an emotional trader. So don't make that mistake in fantasy football. Don't go and try that and dump a guy off your roster for cheap because he burned you in the playoffs. And I hear it all the time, right? I talk about when you're on Twitter, you talk about buy low, sell highs, and someone will always comment and say, man, that guy burned me in the playoffs last year. Oh, that guy burned me in the championship week last year. He put up a dud. Like, yeah, but like one game does not define a player's career, right? That one game does not define a player's profile. So it's those of us that can capitalize on those types of overcoming those types of emotional barriers that are going to be able to win trades and just really build up your team for the long run, for the long haul. And that's really what you want to do. All right, so that's that's the first thing. The second thing I want to talk about is what do you do now, right? Now the fantasy football season's over. The football season's not over yet. You still have, playoffs, you have Super Bowl. For me, this is my decompress time. I just sit back, watch football, enjoy the playoffs. Patriots are in the playoffs, so, I'm going to be enjoying watching them play. Young Mac Jones. Actually, Mac Jones and Tua are dueling out there right now, former college teammates. And I'm sure they got a lot of pride on the table. So far, I believe Tua is winning that battle. I'm hoping that we can lead a late comeback here in the second half by my Patriots, but it's looking pretty grim so far. But I'm still hopeful. All right, so let's keep looking out for that. But I think the other thing is, what do we do? Right, that's the question. So for me, I'm not really that active in my leagues at this time, and that doesn't mean I'm not putting in the work. What I mean is I'm not really looking to pump out a bunch of trades right now in January, February, whatever. Like I said, a lot of the assets I have, I'm holding until draft time. So rookie draft picks, that's all holding to draft time. And like I said before, it's not a good time in the offseason to sell veterans. I'm more of a acquirer of veteran talent in the offseason versus actually selling them, because like nobody has use for veterans right now, right? So a lot of veterans hold a lot of risks, especially running backs in murky job scenarios, right? Their value is very, very susceptible to the incoming draft, the free agents, the trades, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, it's not a good time to require veteran running back specifically. So I typically avoid that. If you want to go back and go out and grab a Jonathan Taylor, whatever, that's totally fine. But, there's only a couple guys that are really, really secure. And some people think Javonte Williams is that. I don't think he is that yet. He's being valued. He's certainly being valued as if he's untouchable. But I just don't see it. He's not there yet. And people are shooting him up as if Melvin Gordon's already gone. And I think the base case scenario should be, right, that Melvin Gordon's gone. My base assumption is that Melvin Gordon's going to be gone. But I'm not 100% sure that Melvin Gordon's going to be gone. Therefore, I'm not going to value him as if 100% sure that Melvin Gordon's gone. And that's what people in the market is telling me. So I'm off Javonte Williams for now. I want to see how the offseason develops. But don't go out there slinging a bunch of trades. You don't need to, right? This is the time where you dig down and do research on your league mates, right? Because it's hard to do during the season, right? In the season, nobody has time to put together a spreadsheet and track every single individual league mate and track their tendencies and map their tendencies in the season, right? Go back to one of my earlier episodes, and I'll try and link it in the comments below, where I talk about how to study your league mates, right? This is that time. Now is the time to implement that process, right? Now is the time during this fantasy dead zone, this dead time. Now, a lot of the leagues are locked. A lot of the rosters are locked. Your commissioners are taking some time off because it's been a fucking brutal season. Give them some space. Give them a shout out. Give them a thank you. They're not getting paid to do what they do most of the time. So it's a lot of work to commission. I know because I commission a couple of leagues and it's a ton of work to do. So go out there and give a shout out to your commissioners. But anyways, your commissioners take time off. Your league mates are taking some time off. So now is the time to go out there and do some digging, right? So go through each of your leagues and do this. If you don't want to do it for every single league, fine. Do it for your most important leagues at least, right? And go and track every single trade that person has done. Go and track every single offer that person has given you. Go and track every single offer you've made and how they've reacted to you. Did they just shoot you down with no counter? Did they shoot you down with some mocking comment because you said it was a low ball? Did they shoot you down and just say that's close in value, but just not right now, right? Go back and sort through all of your trades, map them to your league mates to try and identify what type of league mate they are. Are they an active trader? You might go through some of your leagues, and 3 or 4 of those guys in the leagues might have not made a single trade all year, right? Not a single trade all year. Those guys are probably dead rosters, right? And you can probably fire some trades at them. You're not going to get much luck, right? So those are not going to be the types of guys that I spend a lot of my time on. And then on the flip side, you're going to have guys that are concentrating, that lead your league in transactions. Now, those are the guys you want to dig in. Like, what are they buying? Are they buying old players? Are they buying young players? Are they buying rookie picks? Are they hoarding rookie picks? These are all the tendencies you want to have marked down because you want to understand what type of trader they are before you get to the rookie draft. So you can send out offers and focus your time dealing with players that you have a high likelihood of success with. I'm in too many leagues, right? I don't have time to send out blind trade offers to every single person in the league and hope something sticks. Don't get me wrong. I'm the type of guy that fires out probably the most transactions and most offers in any league that I'm in, but I'm doing it in a calculated manner for the most part. I'm not just firing blind. A lot of these conversations you can start now, right? You don't have to make any trades, but you can fire out some questions to people. Hey, I'm interested in these players, right? Maybe a couple players that flopped during the playoffs, like I just said. What's your appetite to moving them? And then also, the other thing I'm doing is I'm going through my league and I'm assessing every single team and I'm putting them into a few buckets, right? The first bucket, top end contender, elite of the elite. There's only going to be 2, maybe 3 of these guys in any single league. Hopefully one of them is you, okay? One of them is you. If not, that's fine too, but you want to put them in the same bucket and say, okay, these are the guys that are contending, right? So that means they have a strong contention window in the next 1, 2, maybe 3 years, but I don't really look ahead for 3 years. Let's say 1 to 2 years. They are the top end contenders. So what does that tell you? That tells you they're most likely not going to be selling off their veterans, right? They're not going to be selling off guys that can score points on them. But what it does tell you is they're probably willing to give up more youth, willing to give up rookie draft picks. So maybe you can still go out there and snag a couple rookie picks from them for some veteran talent if you want it. But those are not the guys you're going to be targeting the most anyways in the offseason. Next, you're going to have the middle tier guys, right? The middle tier guys that are like, barely scrounging in the playoffs, but that coupled with your tendency profile on that league mate will tell you how to interact with them. And this is how I would do it, right? So first you have all your league mates ranked out, right? What type of trader they are. Are they a rookie draft pick hoarder? Are they a veteran guy? Are they someone that's active, not active? The second column is where they rank in the league. What tier are they? Are they a top end contender? Are they a middling tier team? Or are they a bottom of the rails rebuilder, right? And if you're able to pair, the perfect pair is active traders who are middle of the tier looking to push for contention or going to rebuild. And those are the best types of guys you can target for trading, and they make the best trade partners depending on where you're at in your league with your team, right? So let's say, I constantly talk about acquiring veteran talent during the rookie draft, leading up to the rookie draft, using my rookie picks. I very rarely, if I have 4 to 5 rookie first-round picks, I very rarely use 4 or 5 of them. I probably only use 1 or 2 in any single draft. I trade back, I acquire more future first to restock that iron bank, but also I trade for veteran talent for teams where now I've been rebuilding for maybe a year or 2, and I'm ready to make that push, right? I'm like 1 or 2 players away from really becoming a top-end elite contender. Now I'm going to those middling tier teams. I'm going to those rebuilding teams. I'm identifying targets for myself, and that coupled by the league mate profile that I've built up for them over time, or if this is your first time doing it in this offseason, the league mate profile that I built up for them, pairing those two together to find my best trade partners. And this is when, as you build this profile, this takes time, right? If you have 3 or 4 leagues, like this takes hours and hours and hours on end per league. So if you're not willing to put in the work, feel free to move on. That's fine. But I'm telling you that if you do put in the work, the fruits of your labor will show off in your trades come 1, 2, 3 months from now, even in the season. I'm constantly building these profiles and evaluating and evolving and updating them for my league mates, especially as league mates shifts in and out, right? You can get new league mates. So I had, a couple members I had to replace in a couple of my leagues. So now I have to build new profiles for them and remove the guys that I had before, right? So this is the time to do that, though, and it will pay off, right? So those are the 2 main things I want you to look at is, 1, assess what type of trading partner they are, right? Are they active? Are they not active? What type of assets they like to trade for? Are they a low baller? Are they a fair trader? Are they a high volume trader? Are they a low volume trader? Are they active? Are they not? So track all those things for each of your league mates in that league, and then rank their teams in the 3 tiers of top end elite contender, middling team, and bottom end rebuilder. And depending on what class they're in, you know what they should be looking for and see if that syncs up with the type of trader they are, right? So if they're a top end contender, they're constantly looking to stack points for the most part. If they're a middling guy, they're either looking to rebuild or they're looking to try and push up. Usually, you want to try and convince them that they can actually push up and jump in next year, so you can grab their rookie picks in 2023, or look 2 years in advance and get those discount rookie picks, right? That's like one thing that I'm looking for in the offseason constantly, is I'm looking for rookie picks 2 years out, right? I already know there's a lot of talent in 2024 at the running back position. You got Travion Henderson, right? You got Xavier Worthy at the wide receiver, right? So there is going to be talent in that pool. So, and even if there isn't, I don't care, because I'm buying the rookie picks, which is an option value on talent and insulated value on my team. So this is a good time to start acquiring, because people aren't really thinking that far ahead yet, right? And you can kind of start acquiring some of those players, especially from the top end contending teams, or even better yet, the middling teams that you think you can convince in a top end team. You can start selling them some players, trying to get those picks, especially if you're trying to move into the rebuild bucket, right? So that's why it's important to create this matrix of, league mate evaluation, their talent, their roster talent evaluation, and where they cross and where they meet, depending on what traits they have and what type of behavior and what type of trader they are and what type of team they have. That's how you identify the best trade partners. And once you've identified those trade partners, you can start the conversation, right? A lot of my trades, they don't just happen instantly, right? There's a lot of back and forth, especially if you're dealing with like fair traders, right? And you're offering fair trades. It takes a lot of thought, right? Some people are just on the fence, and a little inch here and a little inch there will push them one way or the other, but it takes time to do that. It takes time to develop those relationships. So start developing those relationships, right? And the other thing I want you to do when building the profile for your league mates is to try and study what they're doing on the waiver wire, right? Are they super active waiver wire guys where they're constantly picking and flipping guys off the waiver and trading them for third-round picks, fourth-round picks, second-round picks? Those guys are the really sharp guys in your leagues because they're taking nothing and creating value out of it. Even if they create a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick out of that waiver wire money, it's not like you can carry that over year after year. So that's value that are either sitting on other people's wallets and being capitalized. So make sure you track that type of activity as well to make sure you can see what type of you can further build that like profile. I think about it almost as if like, I don't know if you guys ever watch like CSI or Criminal Minds, right? They sit down and they break down the profile of like this criminal or like this serial killer, and this guy does this, he has this traits, he's based on what we've seen. The unsub is a middle-aged white male, 30 to 40, probably was a loner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm trying to do with my league mate profiles, right? Like this guy is a cocky low baller, probably single, middle-aged, white dude, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't bring race into it. I'm just trying to make a joke about CSI and Criminal Minds. But I'm trying to build that profile for them so I know who I can go to. And I can pull up the sheet, and some people do it by book. The OGs probably do it by book, and I do it on spreadsheets and stuff like that because it's easier to track, it's easier to find, it's easier to sort. But do it however you want to do it. But my point being, you do need to do this. This is what separates a really, really savvy dynasty player from just your run-of-the-mill guy, right? And a lot of people are going to spend this time now doing player analysis, right? You don't need to do that. There's plenty of good player analysis out there, right? I'm not even the best player analysis guy out there. I can point you to guys, that are really, really good at that. You don't need to do that. There's someone already doing that. What you should be doing is the work that no one else can do, right? Not me, not like Matthew Berry, not Ray Garvin. Like none of us can come over and evaluate your leagues for you. I mean, although I've done that a little bit, doing some of my dynasty audits for Patreon members, but for the most part, you have to be the one that tracks their behavior, right? Like, especially if you're in home leagues, right? You know your buddy from college better than any of us ever will, right? So put those types of behavioral points on their profile, right? Keep track, right? If you don't track, you're not going to remember. You're not going to be able to take advantage of these things. But it's really, really important to keep this detailed notebook. And it's like, this is the game theory aspect of fantasy football. This is why I love fantasy football, right? I didn't have to be the best player evaluator to be successful in fantasy football. All I had to do was understand the game theory, understand the market dynamics, understand the behavioral aspect, understand the emotional aspect of the game that people play, and use that to my advantage. And the reason why I'm sharing this, the reason why I have this channel, the reason why I have my Patreon, the reason why I have everything, because I want to share everything I know with you guys. And this is the key point. You got to put in the work and you got to grind, right? If you want to be successful, this is not the only way to do it, but this is the way that I found the most success doing it. And this is the way that I know that other very successful dynasty players who I look up to also have done it in the past, right? This is how you take advantage and really, really do that grind. Like, if you're not going to be a podcaster, why go out and try and create videos about Jamar Chase or Jamar Chase versus Justin Jefferson? Like, who's a dynasty wide receiver one overall? Who cares, man? That's all useless. That's not going to help you win in the long run. What's going to help you win is getting to the nitty gritty and doing the shit that I'm telling you to do right now. Start a notebook, start a spreadsheet, start a Google Sheet, start an Excel, whatever the fuck you want to use. Pull that shit up, drop all your league mates' names down, and start tracking their behavior. Trading, waiver wire. What do they listen to? If you have their Twitter account, put their freaking Twitter link on it and follow them on Twitter and see what they're looking at. Are they tweeting about Ray Garvin? Are they tweeting about me? Are they tweeting about DF Bean Counter? Are they tweeting about Matthew Berry? Whoever they're tweeting about, go and you can study them and study their content. You can probably get a good sense of how they feel about certain players, right? This is the key to dynasty success. This is the blueprint, in my opinion. It is the most efficient and effective way to spend your time, not burning it doing a bunch of player analysis that nobody cares about, but spending it studying your league mates, because you're the only person that can do that. I can explain to you, like right now, how to do it. I can explain to you why to do it. I can give you the blueprint, the structure to succeed while doing it. But at the end of the day, I'm not in your leagues. I'm not in your league chats. I'm not studying the trades. I'm not studying those players, right? You're the only person that can put in the hours and the time to actually get it done. And that's what's most important, is putting in the time, putting in the grind, just putting their fucking foot to the pedal and just getting it done. And these are the things that I focus on over the next month or so, right? Obviously, I still have to focus on player evaluation and content, all that to bring that to the channel to you guys. But for my own leagues, which is like the reason why I started this channel, the reason why I do any of this video content is become a good fantasy football player. This is the time to get it done, right? Start writing those notes. Start breaking down your league mates. Start breaking down your leagues and start building those trading relationships, right? Start talking to them. Don't just be the guy that comes April draft, right? It will come draft time in the NFL and start finding off a bunch of trades out of the blue, right? Think about it from the other person's perspective, right? Are you more willing to deal and talk trades with someone that just waits until April or May to fire you a trade or DM you? Or are you more willing to deal with the person that you've been building a relationship with and talking about and negotiating all throughout from January to February to March to April, right? For me, it's the latter, and that's why I'm always talking trades with people, dude. I like all year long, I'm talking trades with people. Doesn't mean you have to do the trade, like I said, but understanding, getting that information, right? There's a lot of information you can get from people, even when they decline a trade, right? If they decline a trade, ask them why. Like, hey, am I off on player value? Am I off on position? Am I off on where this is? Like, am I off on my assessment of your team? That's a big disconnect for me sometimes, right? Like, I think someone should be in rebuild, but in their mind, they're still gunning to win. And that's a great data point to have because I know they're going for it, but my assessment of their team is different from theirs, and that's where you can make the most money. If I think their team is a rebuilder, but they're playing as if they think they're a contender, I'm going to do everything I can to get their future rookie picks and make that bet, right? Because more often than not, when I've done that, it's been successful, and I ended up getting an earlier rookie pick than they thought they would have, right? So starting those negotiations, and you don't want to offend people, right? You don't want to go in and say, oh, I thought your team was shit and rebuilding. You just want to say, like, hey, like, where did you think you're going with your team? Like, what direction you're taking? Are you a contender? Are you a rebuilder? Are you in the middle waiting to find out? And those are the types of questions that I usually ask first. Like, hey, before I send a trade, like, I'm not sure where you're trying to take your team. Like, are you trying to become a contender next year, do you think? Or are you trying to collect more youth to build for the future? Like, what are you thinking? And trying to get those data points early on will allow you to form the relationships and know who to go to when trading time comes. Peak trading time, which is April, May, during the NFL, during and after the NFL rookie draft, and even during the combine, right? But now is where you lay the groundwork to actually get that done, so that you know who to go to. So you're not just like dancing around and not knowing what to do and just firing last minute desperate proposals last second, because that's not going to be a path to success. All right, so that's all I want to talk about this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you head on down, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, the little bell there, so that you can tune in to all my future episodes and get notifications when they get dropped on you. And come on over, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/hourpack. We're still going strong, man. I want to be thankful. I just want to take a moment to actually recognize, like, it's been a year, right? It's been a year. Not a full year. I guess it's been 11. This would be month number 11. So I think I launched the Patreon in March, April timeframe, and of 2021. And so I'll be coming up on the 1 year anniversary soon. So I want to thank all you guys out there that have stuck with me for a year, man. Like, just listen to my gibberish, talking fantasy football in the Discord, talking players, talking trades, talking crypto, talking my teams, talking whatever. So I want to thank you guys definitely out there for supporting me. You guys don't know how much it means. Actually, it really helps me feel validated for my work, man. And that's just like a really cool thing to have. So if you guys haven't joined the Patreon and you're looking to check out and start your new year right, go to patreon.com/hourpack and join the Wolf Pack today. That's patreon.com/hourpack today. You'll get my monthly rankings, which get updated every single month. I'll make sure I update it the week right after the draft as well, so you guys have it coming out and going into your rookie draft. So I want to make sure you guys are prepared for the 2022 class. So I'll have that and make sure I'll be grinding that weekend to get that to y'all. But also, just the community itself is probably worth the money. Just getting the Discord, talking trades from people, not just me. People are also sharing really cool work. They're sharing their data. They're sharing stuff they're doing in the actual Discord itself. So make sure you guys hop on over, check it out. And then lastly, make sure you guys check on over the homies at Dynasty Nerds, man. Like I keep talking about them because they're great. They're great people. They're building out really, really cool tools. My favorite tool out there is the Dynasty GM tool, which basically allows you to aggregate all of your dynasty leagues across various platforms like Sleeper and MFL, put it all in one place, and really helps you get that come to Jesus moment. Like, hey, like my team is not as good as I thought. They will rank your team for you across the leagues. Now, there might be some intricacies there you might not agree with, but for the most part, I found them to be pretty damn good at actually allocating which teams are contenders, rebuilders, middle of the rank, and truly elite. And they do it based on the value of assets that you hold in your team. So you can get access to that, but also you can get access to Dynasty Nerd Herd, become a Nerd Herd member. So Jared Wackerly, Garrett Price, Dynasty Rich. So they also released their film grades. So they did their film grades on 2021, right? On the 2021 rookie class. And these are pre-NFL drafts. So draft capital agnostic. So purely based on what they see on screen of these film grades. And now we've looked back on it. Basically, we have a year of data of how those guys performed, and they're beating draft capital at the wide receiver position. So that's very, very hard to do in terms of what they're able to do. So clearly, these guys know what they're doing. You can get access to all of that, all those tools. Their Nerd Herd scores, their Nerd scores is what they're called. The film grades on the rookie class, and they're going to do it again for this incoming rookie class. And you get all that for 20% off by using the membership code Wolfpack. That's 20% off using the membership code Wolfpack, or just hitting the link that I have in the description below. But yeah, make sure you guys check out those guys. You can get that percentage off and join up and subscribe with them to see what's up. But they're definitely doing great work. Big fan of them. Love all those guys over there. So shout out to you all. Shout out to J-Wack. Shout out to Dynasty Price. Shout out to Rich and Matt and all those great guys over there doing great work. All right, so that's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Until next time. Peace.